When I turned 30, something really weird happened. It's like this bat signal went out to all the 20-year-olds to reach out to me and say, hey, Raylen, I need some help. I want some mentorship and I don't know what to do. And if I'm honest, if I think back to my 20s, when I was in my 20s, especially when I left college, I dropped out. I was incredibly lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. And in fact, I went to school, aka college, to get a degree that turns out I didn't even want in the first place. Believe it or not, I went to school to be a PE teacher. And as you can tell, I am not a PE teacher right now. Turns out making 35 grand a year isn't as cool as owning your own business. Your 20s kind of sucks. It's supposed to be this amazing time in your life when you just get to let loose and do whatever you want to do. And it's supposed to be the most amazing time period in your life. And for most people, it's actually not. And in fact, arguably because of social media, it's even worse for people in their 20s today. They get to look at everyone doing what they're not doing and making you feel like you're left behind. There are 5 things that I wish I would have known in my 20s. So the point of this video is to maybe help someone out there in their 20s look at one of these 5 things, take it, and maybe make their life a little bit easier. So, number 1, your past doesn't determine your future. As I mentioned earlier, I was incredibly lost in my 20s, and I think arguably it's because of the fact that at this time, I'm reconciling the fact that my father, for 16 plus years, was in prison. Because I didn't know where I came from, I felt like I didn't know who I was. And arguably, I don't know why, but as I grew up, I had this thing in my head that because he went to prison, I was destined to go there too. Because he had anger issues, I guess that means I do too, but I was incredibly wrong. To make matters worse, I mean, like everyone else, I made mistakes. And those mistakes stuck with me forever. I just thought that because I made this mistake, that's who I am moving forward. But the truth is, you can design your own future. I heard this concept from a mentor once named Shane Scott, and he talked about how most people want this, but their actions are this. There's a huge disconnect between what they want and how they behave every day. And the only reason why your past happened was because you acted a certain way. If you simply change your habits, you change the way that you act, you'll get a different result. Thus, you get to create your future self. Now, the idea of future self is something that in your 20s is really, really hard to conceptualize. I mean, that's why most 20-year-olds just blow money. I know I did, because we're not thinking that far ahead. But if we were to allow ourselves to do that and really picture who you want to be, how you want to show up, house you want to have, the relationships you want to have, all of this, you can start to make different behaviors. You can start making different actions that's going to lead to that outcome. Which then leads me to number 2. Every single how to get what you want is in a book. I don't know if you can tell, behind me, I'm obsessed with books. This wasn't always the case. I found my love of books probably late in my 20s, early 30s, and it really was because I was searching for something. I was a brand new manager at a job. I had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't want to ask anybody, hey, what about this scenario, or how do I do this job? Because I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing, so I just picked up the nearest book, and it was the first book I ever picked up was Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. In that book, it detailed out every single thing I needed to know, especially because I took the notes and I did the studying. I did everything I could to extract every bit of information out of that book, which led me to be a pretty decent manager and eventually a regional director of operations. I continued to get promoted, arguably because of this one book, which then made me realize that every goal that I had, the lessons and the how to get there was in a book. I just needed to find the right book. I'm not the first person to say this, but literally in order to get access to some of the people that write these books, you need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching programs and courses. But if you just buy their book, you study it and you implement it, you'll get the same result. Personal development is key to anybody, right? I mean, it's in the title, personal development, self-improvement, all of these things, self-help books. I know it seems kind of like a cliche thing to do, but honestly, if you picked up a book every once in a while and made it part of your personality, your identity to read every single day, whether it be just 10 pages a day or a whole book in a week, whatever it is for you, you can go a lot farther that way. Now, number 3 took me forever to figure out. You are not your thoughts. This, by the way, speaking of books, comes from this book called Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Michael Singer in this book talks about how your thoughts, he has this really great analogy about how if you were to extract the thoughts from your head and put it in, imagine it as a person, and they sat next to you on a couch, and you would hear them go back and forth on certain things and say, hey, I really like this person. I think they're great. You should marry them. And the next second they're thinking, no, this person's not it. You should probably go somewhere else. Or, hey, this job is really, really great for you. I think this is going to be great. No, you can't do it. It's all coming from the same voice, the same person. If that was a real person, you wouldn't want to be their friend anymore. That's the thoughts in your head. The truth is, is, you are not your thoughts. He even explains, he goes further to talk about this person Descartes. He was a philosopher, and he had this saying, I think, therefore I am. He argues that the person thinking and the person that is are two separate beings. Who you are in your head is different from who you are, just totally. The person that thinks is not the person that listens. I know that sounds kind of crazy. Maybe I'll do a separate video for that. But the point is this: if you detach from the crazy thoughts in your head, and the less energy you spend arguing with yourself, the more action you'll actually take. The truth is, the thing that really stands between you and what you want oftentimes is just you. Number 4 actually comes from my wife. I brought this up to her and I said, hey, what do you wish you would have known in your 20s? And the first thing that came up to mind was perfect, even for me, which was learn how to say no. Your time is incredibly precious. We only have one life as we know it today. And the truth is, there's not enough time for everything. And you will have to say no to certain things. You have to say no to the people that want to go out to parties so that way you can spend the time reading the book so you can continue to grow. You'll have to say no to family sometimes. That's incredibly difficult. But if you want them to grow and you have to grow as well, sometimes you need to say no. Sometimes you have to say no to the job offer. Sometimes you have to say no to the wrong relationships. There's many things that you need to say no to, but if you do, it leaves a lot more room for the hell yeses of life. The moments that pop up that you go, oh my God, I cannot wait to do that. But if you didn't say no to the other things, you would go, but I can't go because of X, Y, and Z. I think money's a really good example of this. If, for example, you don't say no to ordering Uber Eats every single day, if you don't say no to spending money on things you don't need necessarily, when it comes time to buy the house, you want to have the money to do it. Same is true with your time. And last, but certainly not least, arguably, if we were to rank these, this is probably number 1, which is take care of your body. Now, many people talk about this, right? I mean, right now, if you're watching this, cold plunges are a thing. I don't think that's really going anywhere though. More and more people are talking about working out because it's incredibly important. But the truth is, you only have one of these things we call a meat sack, right? It follows you everywhere. You can't get rid of it. Your brain is only as good as your body is. And something that I realized is that this leads to the other 4 things we talked about. If you don't take care of your body, you'll be more stressed. If you're more stressed, it's harder to realize that you are not your thoughts. If you're not working out and eating right, we're not gonna have the energy to pick up a book and read it. And it's much easier just to pop on the TV and sit around and watch TV for hours and hours. If you don't take care of your body, your past will always be your future. Taking care of your body leads to just being a better you. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, and arguably this is where I got wrong when I was in my 20s. I thought that I had to push myself constantly. I had to strain and kill myself in the gym in order to get a result, but the truth is you can just do pretty well with a 20-minute workout, 30-minute workout every single day. Consistency is more important than killing yourself just 2 days a week. And what's really interesting is a while ago, Firas Zahabi, he's a MMA trainer. He was famously trained, obviously George St. Pierre was his biggest client, I think, or biggest athlete at this time. And I remember him talking about this concept, which I don't remember where it comes from, but how you would actually do better if you just did 10 pull-ups every single day instead of doing 200 pull-ups one day. Because arguably, if you do 200 pull-ups in one day, you have to take a week rest to recover. Whereas you just do 10, you don't have to recover as much, which means you could do more. And if you extend that out to the year, you will do more pull-ups than if you did the 200. By the way, somebody do the math on that. I'm pretty sure I screwed that up. But the point still stands. Consistency and taking care of your body is incredibly important. Now, I'm sure I missed plenty of stuff. So go in the comment right now and let me know your thoughts. What did I miss? What do you wish you would have known in your 20s that would have set you off on a way better path to where you are today? And if you are in your 20s and you're struggling with something that I didn't cover here, put it in the comments. I don't have all the answers, but I'm sure someone that's watching this video may be able to help you too. And if it's something big enough, maybe I'll make a whole video about it. With that being said, that's it for this video. I appreciate you watching. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video.